Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Khan, or coming to you with another game of Company of Heroes 2. Here's a 1v1 going on between LukePraisestone down here playing the Wehrmacht. He's already decided to select his Mechanized Assault Doctrine as his commander of choice. Meanwhile, up in the north, playing as the Soviets, as macca2112. He might be bringing on in one of three different decisions: Lend-Lease tactics, shock rifle frontline tactics, or Soviet Reserve Army. Now, the map itself is, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Langreskaya. At the same time, I admit I kind of just started the replay without really taking a real peek at it. But LukePraisestone bringing on in already Assault Grenadiers as well as an MG42. Now, keep in mind that these guys got a slight buff during the last one of their patches, mostly because these guys fall off like crazy as the game goes on, and only 280 per, that's pretty much why. But macca2112 bringing on in some penal troops already, and he's got infantry production too. We saw this, or we're going to see this, in a very recent game between von Ivan and Theodosius. And a very, very quick sprint from these Assault Grenadiers trying to push away combat engineers. Now, that's 10 unis, and at the same time that means that they will not be able to utilize the still Handgranate assault. Of course, I mean, they're not into battle phase 1 yet either, but he's been more focused on just pouring intense amount of unaimed submachine gun fire into this house. They're doing a really good job of it too, taking up 2 models already, barely not making it into that house. So falling back for the moment, but he does have an MG42 now, just going to start to bleed that entire section of troops pretty much constantly. Worst part is that these penal troops are completely out of position and cannot support their ailing comrades, which means that there's been, what, 4 casualties suffered so far. Going to be 4 casualties any second here on the Soviet side of things. Meanwhile, the Germans just kind of continue to blithely capture the map. But we are going to see now some sprinting Assault Grenadiers into these penal troops, and they're just doing incredible amounts. I've not seen this kind of fierce lightning assault in a very, very long time. Combat engineers over here as well getting shredded. Those poor guys, they're just trying to hop in and hop out of that house. But I would run if I were them. Pretty darn soon at that point, too. Fuel being picked up by the Germans over here to the west. Picking up this the VP and moving over here to the east as well. And Macca seems lost for words, with just using a mere couple Assault Grenadier squads with the MG42 as a little bit of a backdome. Praisestone has taken the map and done it rather devastatingly. Trip cap is now down for the Germans. He's going to start bleeding the Soviets like crazy. The question now is whether or not these Assault Grenadiers can hang up against penal troops out of cover, and the simple answer to that is they can't. If penals do have enough time to kind of generate some real firepower over open fields, the Assault Grenadiers can't do particularly well. Just an example of that right now. And now seeing them over here in garrison, they're rather effective fighters against the MG as well. But the Germans do control both fuel sources on this map. All they have to do is just put them back in supply pretty darn quickly with the capture of this area. And you'll see there... Actually, they should be in supply already. MG42 might get taken out. Never mind, here we go. Could be the first loss for the Germans, and yes, he dies before he makes it out alive. So Praisestone did a great job in kind of pressuring the Soviets, but then kind of dropping the ball a little bit.
We are losing a sector.
In terms of keeping an eye on his support squads. Soviets do take then a size advantage on the map, and the lack of capturing of this area as well as this one right here means the Germans are supplied only by a very, very thin arterial overall. That's being redressed now. Battle phase 1 has been teched up to, which means that now these Assault Grenadiers do have the Shield Handgranate assault. I think this also has to... No, okay. Alright. For some reason I thought that was like the infiltration one, but I haven't seen the Assault Grenadiers in such a long time. I kind of have forgotten how it worked. Forgive me. Leichte Mechanized Company has been created in the meantime as well, but there's no one coming out anytime soon, mostly because those light vehicles are still kind of expensive. Assault Grens were able to go and sprint for a couple of seconds here, only 5 seconds after all. But they're trying to get in and around on these penal troops might be the best way they can manage it. But we're already seeing their efficacy falling off. Mortar as well, just blowing apart their advance. What had been a very good initial position for the Germans is now kind of falling apart a little bit.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Their grenade assault fails utterly. In the meantime, it's going to be another 20 seconds before another one can even come back in. And both assault grenadier squads are pushed back. Just like that. At 222 coming on in might be able to reverse the momentum, at least momentarily.
To steal our sector.
But I wouldn't put good money on it, which is the problem.
We claimed it for the fatherland.
And with this now resurgent Soviet force, I would say the Germans are somewhat rocked back on their heels. We are also seeing a support weapon company coming on out, so Macca not likely to go for Lend-Lease, I would say. With the opportunity to actually get some Maxims in, otherwise you would just pick that up and just go immediately for Dushkas. But instead now we're having assault Grens having to fight against all of these penal troops, although these penal troops have found themselves completely and totally outnumbered and outflanked. So they're going to run away pretty darn quickly. It's a good decision there. MG42 in the meantime will keep these other two squads entertained while the combat engineers kind of rumble about the map. And the 222 announcing himself vigorously. And there goes one squad. Another one might be coming up pretty darn soon. Assault grenade attack thing, I don't know what we call it, I'm sure to call it. Still hung on to assault. Doesn't go off inside the garrison, unfortunately, and instead blowing up one side of this house, but not doing a ton of lasting either architectural or squad damage. Assault Grants should be able to put some more pressure on these retreating combat engineers. Takes out one model, maybe another one? No. No, it's not going to happen. P-Gun's coming on in, though, so that'll be kind of interesting to see. And a Zis gun is already on the field as well. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So P-Gun's coming on in to delay any sort of kind of T-70 play, I would hope. But of course it does presuppose that they are going to upgrade themselves with those double Shreks. And we're just watching the impotent gunfight between the 222 and this in cover. Now no longer in cover. Penal squad. Now watch the models begin to drop. One drops and immediately he books it for home, and that's a good decision there. Now will we see grenade assault? Yes, we will. Going into the house, unfortunately, so using 30 munitions and not quite being able to take out that kind of pressure that he needed to take out. And there's now a good chunk, in fact, 33% of the Russian army was in that house just for a second or two there.
The enemy has dealt us a blow. The enemy is taking our territory.
This gun does go, and with the help of these combat engineers, I believe. In fact, the combat engineers probably got the final shot. Yep. Got the final shot to take out that 222. So with that, the Soviets do take themselves a bit of a strength advantage on the field. These combat engineers will be able to trade decently well, even with these guys being in green cover. However, the addition of these P-Grens might be enough to see them through. Again, massive, massive flank here, and not being seen until way too late. So watch another model go down pretty easily, I would imagine. Not quite yet? Okay, I'm shocked every now and again. I always underestimate the power of the retreat on this game. PTRS is coming down on penal battalions, and now there was some comments recently that the penals of PTRSs are completely worthless. Shock rifle frontline tactics being chosen in the meantime, shock rifle troops coming on out. But the PTRSs, to me, and this was a comment then pointed out by somebody else as well, they're very, very good. Kind of keeping light vehicles at bay, and oh geez, please tell me you're paying attention. Okay, he is, alright. Very good at keeping light vehicles at bay, and kind of can delay and deflect heavier vehicles as the game progresses. So you have to give a little bit of props to them. You really do. Lots of sprinting happening here. These guys are all about their cardio. Question is, can they stand up to those PTRSs and SVTs? And the answer to that is it doesn't seem like it. This might be a little bit different. Now we have a much more healthy squad going up against a more battered squad on the Soviet side, and the Soviets do decide to run for the hills. Now, where are those shock rifle troops? Well, they're coming up right now. The shock troops are here, which means here another grenade will be coming up pretty darn soon. He's got more than enough munitions for it, I believe. Yes, he does. But the Pigrans are fighting them to a standstill, and I think we'll continue to do so until this grenade comes out and devastates them, taking out 80% of their health just like that. So neither player really playing necessarily incredibly high-level play here, but it is kind of amusing and a lot more fun for me to see assault grens, shock troops, P-grens, a lot of different material they don't usually see in many games.
Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
But alright, 428 to 431, the Soviets do have themselves a slight advantage in tickets that will continue to grow. While Praisestone just continues to kind of throw his guys into the fray, reinforce them as soon as they come right back out and send them right back in. Doesn't really care too much about his men's, mental state, no worried about R&R, things like that. This is the only guy that over here in this garrison is the only one kind of relaxing a bit. Shot blocker in the meantime, this could be an excellent opportunity to kind of sneak up here and throw a satchel charge. And please tell me that's what he's going to do. Yes, he is. So watch this machine gun go down. Okay, strange. Blows out the cover, but doesn't hit the garrison. Not sure what he was thinking.
The enemy is taking what we have secured.
Assault grens again sprinting on in. These guys are just game for anything. There's a fight here? Let's go! And these guys just rush on in. That 10 munitions allowing them some unparalleled mobility. Reminds me very much of Sprint for the Rangers, I think, back in Company of Heroes 1. And with his complete lack of surprise, these guys are rushing on in. Grenades galore going on out, but not going to hit anything. Maybe a little bit of accidental fire coming out. And yes, it does manage to do some damage over to these combat engineers, but doesn't manage to take them out. And I think so far, the only loss that's been on this map, though, has been that 222. So you have to give some props there for squad preservation. P-grens hiding within these bushes is going to put some good fire down on top of these combat engineers. Even better if they can get in and around them, taking out two models super quickly. The Pioneers, though, are going to similarly suffer as all of those penal troops are just going to carve them up. Two models dropping down for their P-grens immediately. Please don't make me have Caster's Curse here. Three going back. And that last one retreating home. Now, as we're getting closer and closer to this 7th command point, I'm expecting to see Praisestone just start throwing in Stugs like crazy, mostly because he's not teched up at all. He's putting another MG squad instead. Would not be surprised to see that. Second P-gren squad that I missed that completely, I admit. Chasing back the Ziscon, and these guys are not going to be seeing all this other firepower coming at them from the shock troop squad. Doing some good damage with a grenade, but not enough to even take out a single model. Those PPSs, my friends, well, those things are pretty beastly. Might see a squad death in just a second here, we'll see. Heavy unaimed fire is quite devastating, but there's not always a lot of space sometimes to hide from the bullets. MGs coming on forwards between the two MGs should be able to keep the center part of the map locked down. Okay, for some reason Praisestone decided to tech up into another level, and to also make the support armored core. Kind of thought he was going to just start making Stugs here. Guess not. The weight of firepower is too much for this one MG to take. These guys are going to get honed, and these poor guys over here have either picked the wrong decision, or they're retreating, tactically redeploying, let's perhaps say, for some strange reason. And one of those brave assault gren squads, which was doing so well so far,
Out of contact.
dies, and dies bloodily at that. 393 to 419, the Germans have managed to decap the center position, but have not been fortunate enough to take it for themselves.
To steal our sector.
It is weird to see a complete and total lack of grenadier squads in this map. We have P-grens galore. We don't have any kind of grens. PTRS is throwing rounds down range as the Soviets calmly take the center part of the map. As MG comes really far forward. So that's probably one thing I would say. Praisestone, if you ever watch this, it is way too far forward. P-grens in the meantime, though, coming on up, might be able... Nope, never mind. There's a Maxim back here locking things down. So that was the reason that the MG42 before could not hang tough. Strug is available to be brought on in. The question is, will he do so? Very, very easily brought in. He's not doing it just yet, though, either. And there we go. So a Strug is coming in, but it's not a Strug E. It looks like it's going to be a Strug G, rather. I think it's going to be a Strug... Wow. Try this again. A Strug G is coming on in, and a Strug E is not. There we go. That's what I mean. And in the meantime, a grenade has gone and devastated that Maxim squad, causing a decrew and a complete recrew as the penal troops hop on top of that immediately. I think it might have been a better decision to use your combat engineers, a teensy bit cheaper. But hey, you know, them is how them is.
We need to re-establish our supply lines.
MG was going and putting some good fire down on these retreating penal troops, but now he's facing the wrong direction.
Strug 3 ready to deploy.
And Strug G is now out on the map, so we can see what that guy can do. They're great against light vehicles, but the Soviets haven't made any sort of vehicles at all, so I'm guessing all he's doing is waiting for the IS-2. Which seems a fair bit off until you realize that those 3 command points come a lot faster than you might think. Start following the Strug G for a little bit. And again, I'm really concerned before that this building should not be here at all. It should be completely gone.
Enemy forces are securing our
Question
territory.
is now, can they take out this house? Can they take out these 2 squads? If they could take out these 2 squads, that would be a rather significant victory, I would say.
Has been cut off.
But we're not seeing it. Instead, we're just seeing these assault grenadiers hanging tough, trying to stay hungry.
Awaiting orders.
And Strug G just kind of throwing AP rounds at squads where it's not going to do a whole lot of good. Further down to the south, combat engineers and pioneers are tickling each other in a wet noodle contest that have nobody winning. And to the north, MG42 is pushing back against this Zis gun, who is trying to find a way to get a line of sight on top of this Strug G. Hey, look, he got a kill by firing cannons to kill mosquitoes. How cute is that? 2 kills. Wow, he's really starting to dial it in. Oh man, of course I said something at that point. He can't hit anything else anymore. Pigren's stuck in a contest against these penals, but they are out in the open, which means that these Pigrens just need to retreat right now. Right now. There we go. Maybe he's just trying to get the MG42 up in position. He wasn't able to lock down the PTRSs, so maybe that was the decision there. And I continually laugh whenever these MGs, whenever any kind of rifle fire gets levied at a tank, because it's just not going to do jack. This gun will put some fire in, and now we will see a Strug E coming onto the map. So, short barrel, was it a 57mm? No, 75, I think, on the Strug G and E, for that matter. Just one was a long barrel, one was a short barrel. So, long barrel, high velocity, short barrel, high velocity. Should be pretty darn good against a lot of these infantry squads. And with the Zis gun now firing rounds over this MG, this could be a perfect time to flank them. Instead, for some reason, he's sending his own Strug E around to tickle him or something. I don't exactly know.
We are losing a sector.
And a lot of penals are coming on around, and luckily enough for the Strug, there's only 1 or 2 avenues of AT here. One being the PTRSs, the other one being that oh-so-lovely satchel charge. See right there, 1 PTRS shot takes him down, you know, by about 10%. So not that bad, all things considered. MG42 setting on up might be able to lock down this road, but no, in the meantime, this guy gets some great damage. Taking out 80% of that squad's health in literally 1 shot. And now we just see tons and tons of Strug play, would be kind of fun. And the answer is not immediately. These Zis guns will continue to keep them at range for the time being. The Strug G taking fire like crazy, probably get taken on out. One more shot from the Zis might be enough. Yep, there he goes. So the poor guy does go down. And now the Tiga has been unlocked. So hopefully Praisestone, though, is not going to be waiting for that to come on out. One shot coming in, though, and taking out an entire penal squad. The PTRS is out on the map. Yeah, don't make me kill yourself. Jeez, bro.
Is attempting to steal our sector.
The Stroke is now probably the MVP currently on this map. Su-76 is charging on forwards. I'm not sure why he's focusing on the infantry when really he should be focusing on taking out the enemy light vehicle. Medium light vehicle. Retreat, my friend, retreat. There we go. And there we go. So we have a P-Grunt squad falling back in not a little bit disarray. Speaking of veterancy in the meantime, Soviets are vetted up rather well. You want to check that out on the upper right-hand side. With a couple of squads already, both penal squads actually at full veterancy. Shock troops at 2, and 2 combat engineer squads both at 2 as well. Some very, very good work being done here. The prospective bundle grenade goes out and doesn't hit these shock troops, though. These guys being forced back to P-Grens with a lot of losses. Su-76 in the meantime throws a round down towards the Stroke, does not manage to hit it somehow, despite it being a multi-ton heavy vehicle. I'm wondering, are we going to see another Stroke coming on in? He can be afforded pretty quickly. But against this Su-76, I don't know if that's really the best option. AP rounds being levied at it. 23 seconds left to go on that particular ability usage. But they're both penal troops as well as that light arty barrage coming out from it. So instead what we have is the Stroke E is just putting down rounds downrange against the penals. And doing some really great work. Now, I might be wrong, but I believe, yep, that is a little bit of a explosive trap, shall we call it, in favor of the Soviets. Assault grunts, in the meantime, are going to find themselves cut off by shock troops. And it ain't going to be pretty. In fact, they're going to run back through their own assault grenade ability, and a much better way in terms of trying to anticipate almost being exemplified right there. I was very closer than you like. It was way closer than you might like. Maxim trying to engage and putting some long-range discouraging fire down against these P-Grens as the shock troops continue to shift on in and take squads at their leisure. Take sectors at their leisure, excuse me. In 2240 in, the Germans are somehow inexplicably back up in VPs, the Soviets having dropped the ball a little bit, more than once. Now, incendiary artillery barrage is definitely a good decision here. Dropping down on the center parts of the map, moving back MGs, anything you really want to do. But macca2112 is just completely and totally tunneled on this IS-2. He's putting that other 100 manpower. And the question is whether or not the Germans can stave this off by continuing to inflict losses. And there finally is the incendiary artillery barrage. Checking out the damage that it does do. These guys were in the middle of it. They're retreating. And they're still lost at 1/3 of their health. Another heavier Stroke is coming on in, though, so a Stroke E is not the decision. It's going to be a Stroke G. After losing the first one, I'm hoping that the second one can do a lot better work than his ally did previously. Meanwhile, down to the south, Assault Grens and P-Grens trying to push back against these shock troops. If the shock troops can be caught out in the open, it can go rather well for the Germans, but it's a question of catching them out in the open, and it's not happening so far. And here comes the IS-2. So with the IS-2 on the map, the Soviets take a scary advantage in firepower. This guy just doesn't seem to miss anything, besides that one. And most tanks just can't seem to penetrate a lot of his armor.
One of our machine guns has been silenced.
Maxim does finally go down. Was that a dead garrison? Yes, it was. The Stroke G continuing to get a lot of work done here. Stroke G continues to get bashed, though, as the IS-2 just starts charging in after him. A couple more rounds will be enough to do it. Question is whether or not can we see stuff like a miss? No, we're not going to. Instead, we're going to see the Su-76 trooping on forwards, and the Stroke G is in the area. And a base dive has been the decision. IS-2, I think, is prioritizing vehicles. No, he's free-firing. Okay. And the paint is being scratched from the IS-2 one flake at a time. Su-76 coming in behind. I think it's going to be a dead Stug G. 3, 2, 1. That's one gone. What about the other one's the question, I suppose. He's trooping on in. He's got half health. I'm not sure he's really going to be the best decision to attack these particular vehicles. But he does have the target weak point, which could be kind of, you know, amusing, more or less. Pack 40 being called in finally, 25 minutes into this game. His MG has actually got two different squads of Soviet infantry completely pinned and now forced to retreat. IS-2 might be able to take him out. Or he's playing a nice little bit of a wall, and no, it ends up being the machine gun crew, all these captured LMGs, really. So PTRS still exists over here. It's a shame that no one's actually noticed it to pick it up. But them's the breaks, I suppose. The IS-2 again says it's effective against infantry and heavy armor. It almost seems to have hit too many things at the same time for me. I'm happy right now he's only gotten 2 kills on this map. Usually you see the IS-2 come onto the map and everything against it just dies instantly. But it will allow the Soviets more than enough time to recap the center VP, and I think should be more than enough to support a push over here to the west. Another Stug being called on in. These G's apparently being where Praisestone wants to pin all of his hopes and dreams. Where's that Pack 40 though? Okay, so he's in the area. He's not quite set up, but he's in the area. Moving on to the western flank, we are going to see this Stug E, probably the biggest VIP for Germans right now, excluding maybe these assault grants with 29 kills. Stug E is laying down a pattern of fire, which is not going to prevent them from taking the VP, but it will at least prevent them from taking the fuel point, and that is a completely and totally vital thing coming out of the German war machine at this time. What's more is that this Pack 40 is now completely next to the IS-2, and now it's going to be a question of who takes him out first. And it ain't gonna be the Pack. Instead we have now another Stug G coming on, putting rounds into him. And the only thing really working out so far for the Germans is that the IS-2 has an extremely slow turret rotation speed. Oh my gosh, these vehicles are so beautiful. You can almost feel the history behind all the models as it gets created. 330 to 296, we are going to see continual fire being levied against this Su-76. That guy's going to fall back pretty quickly as well. Stug G trying to aggress onto him. Not going to do it too effectively, though. Instead, taking a shot at the IS-2. Another incendiary barrage coming on down. P-Grun's going to get devastated by this. Su-76 throwing rounds down range. Where is that Zis gun as well? The western side of the map, you can see it right there. So the middle VP is decapped, the eastern VP has been decapped, and now we're going to see a very prescient bundle grenade coming on out from these P-Grunts. Good decision there. And with that loss of momentum, we'll see, I think, this shock troop squad pushed back. And the Germans are threatening to take their first VP in a fair bit of time here. So 15 kills there, 0 kills there. But yet, that Stug G is the reason that everyone is riding home in happiness. Okay, so as the MG goes down to one model left, he will devastate the penal troops ahead of him. And the Germans are now taking away a couple of tickets at a time. It isn't much, it's just a drip and a drab. But it's still worthwhile to note. And a captured MG42 is in the area now too. Or as well. I think at long last Praisestone is bringing in a Grenadier squad so that we have some Fausting ability. Maybe to somehow snag this IS-2. He still has to worry about the Su-76. Meanwhile, the converse is not particularly true. But there we go, he's starting to wake himself up. One more shot to take out a squad? Okay, no. I'm thinking, yep, Praisestone I think is going to wait and start playing a long-term kind of Stug G play. But even as this Su-76 starts pouring artillery rounds downrange, trying to find this Pac 40, it would be kind of good to see pressure on the return. IS-2 is just going to charge on forwards, and this Pac 40 is going to get decrewed pretty quickly. 3, 2, 1. No health left on it. Target weak point has been used over yonder, and indeed the main gun's been destroyed now on the Stug G, which means if the Soviets wanted to, they could just take or destroy the Pac 40, and there goes pretty much 50% of the German AT capacity. But no. They want to play with their food a little bit, and so a heavily wounded IS-2 falls back, finally getting his MG on top, and a very heavily wounded Su-76 as well falls back. Only with 4 kills, but that guy's got 3 stars of veterancy. In the meantime, P-Guns are chasing after the Zisgun a little bit. And I would argue, again, missing another opportunity here. I'm also kind of wondering why there hasn't been any kind of emphasis placed on this KV-8. The IS-2 can trade more than easily against the German armor war machine. Might as well bring in the KV-8 to just flame out the entire ground force contingent. Now, behind cover, these P-Grunts are going to have no trouble against these combat engineers, and the combat engineers, realizing this finally, are going to back up. But not before losing pretty much all their number. He has the PTRS from before as well. Okay, so the P-Grunts are charging, though, and not going to be able to do anything about it. It would be better for him now to just retreat. I said retreat, you bastard. Alright. Grenade coming out, not going to do enough, though. Indeed, we do have another Stug coming on. Number 4 for this game, I believe. Meanwhile, the IS-2 is still getting repaired. It's got a huge health pool, which it kind of explains why this extended repair process. Even the poor Su-76 to suck hind teat and just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting for his turn in the repair bay. Now, one thing I will say about Praisestone is that Praisestone's been having a very good munitions supply through most of this game, and his resource utilization has been pretty darn good. Macca, on the other hand, is floating an incredible amount of fuel, and still could call in the KV-8. I would think that'd be a great idea. Against the lighter vehicles of the Stugs, for example, you might even be able to penetrate some of that armor from the rear or from the flank. Granted, in the meantime, we'll face off against these penal troops, and these guys have 29 kills, just definitely the monsters of the battlefield, hitting the 30th now with the Grenadier Squad. But under now intense pressure between Pax and Stugs and everything, it's not going to go particularly well. IS-2 in the meantime, up here to the north, trying to curve around, might be looking to pressure these assault grains. These guys have 35 kills, one of the deadliest units on the map. But none of those vehicles, none of those kills is a tank. Stugs are coming forward to harass and push back the IS-2. Ziska, in the meantime, trying to get shots on the attacking Stugs, so it's really a question of, do I know that they know? And around we go. Penal troops, in the meantime, just kind of calmly taking the fuel to the west. Mechanized Armor Company at long last being brought in. But still, no KV-8. So thinking about again, I'm going to try to continue explaining why I'm harping so much on this whole KV-8 idea. KV-8, first of all, is a decent health pool. Second of all, is able to deflect a lot of the current material on the field from the Germans. What's more, what's more is that 45mm pop gun, which is kind of a joke sometimes, is still pretty darn good against flank and rear armor hits. Assault Grant charging on in, getting the lead guy getting wiped out just like that. I think these combat engineers are going to get forced back as well. Yes, the Germans do not want to take any more ticket losses here. And we will see these Stugs As Pack 40 throwing rounds downrange at the Su-76, at the IS-2. We're just going to go for a little bit more of a cinematic posture at the moment. And the question is, oh no, geez, here comes the other stroke coming on in. Main gun destroyed on the Su-76, so we could see a Faust or something to destroy it. No, we're not going to. Instead, we're going to see the Grenadiers getting slaughtered, I think, by the IS-2. Yes, there goes that squad. Pack is still alive, which is just incredibly shocking to me, and both strokes are still alive, which is even more shocking to me. Su-76, in the meantime, has been devastated quite significantly. And unfortunately for this Zis gun, I think these attacking P-guns might be able to pick it up. Yes, there it goes. Strokes charging in, put more rounds into the IS-2. Not so much an intelligent idea for that one. For this one, why the heck not? He's got three kills, he's got 1-star veterancy on the verge of a second one. He can go and target the weak point, which is pretty darn good. Actually, now behind this captured Zis gun, that's actually a pretty good position for them as well. Germans losing some models here and there, but all in all, shouldn't be too upset with how this is going. They're slowly tugging of war that AT gun right back. IS-2's coming back into the fray. He wants to have more of this. He'll go through a rear armor hurt technically into the stroke G. Probably gotta take him out. But in the meantime, his infantry, Macca's that is getting devastated. This IS-2 just taking an incredible amount of rounds. Target weak point has gone out, and incendiary artillery barrage doesn't do jack against vehicles, though. It warms them up, maybe. Makes it a little bit uncomfortable to be inside, but not doing enough to really, really pressure them away. The entire Soviet army has been called back for a quick powwow in the camp. You know, everybody wanting to have a little bit of a FaceTime with the lady medics. I have a boo-boo. Can you kiss it and make it better, they say. Do they say da? I have no idea. Do they say niet? More likely. Praisestone, in the meantime, could be calling another stroke, and he's been in love with those guys so far. I don't think he's holding on hope to get to this Tiga. And indeed, we're just going to see this stroke to the south. Main gun destroyed. I would not be surprised to see. Yep, there it goes. Stroke G's now are still in the fight. 2 stars of veterancy on both of them. Stroke E, in the meantime, he is, I think, literally become the MVP for this game for the Germans. Being able to give that long-range discouraging fire, supporting a lot of the infantry efforts throughout the map. 254 to 287, though the Germans are down for the moment. I don't expect that to last. Now with the armor advantage clearly within inside the Germans' camp, I would say things aren't looking too pretty for the Reds. P-Ren's getting around side this MG42, captured MG42, and doing some good work there. Wait a second, that is the captured MG, is it not? Yes, it is, okay. Maxim went down a long time ago when that garrison blew up. IS-2's back in the fray, though. This guy's got 16 kills. The question is between the Pack 40, this Zis gun, which is lying, let's call it fallow, over here, and 2 Stugs. Will the Germans be able to hold them off? My answer would be yes. Even the IS-2 being in the fray, I would say yes. Of course, they say in the first round that comes in, they start pinging off the side. So side armor, though, going to be able to mitigate a little bit of the damage from the IS-2. And another explosive round being levied downrange. I don't know, was that wasn't the Stroke E, was it? No. No, that was not him. From one of these Gs. And there we go. So that is the G life right there, my friends. P-Grens coming in underneath the kind of discouraging fire from the Stroke Gs. MG42 as well, putting down and doing a lot of damage to these penal troops, which are just standing here, just accepting the blows. Yeah, they gotta back away, and there they go, finally backing up. TM35 mine, in the meantime, going down over here to the eastern side. Good work being done there. And we're approaching the 40-minute mark, and finally Macca's bringing on in a Katyusha, when really all he needed to do to bring in was a KV-8. I think that would have been so much better. Assault Grand's now just being entertained momentarily by these penal troops who are now retreating right through
Supply sector under attack.
some P grounds. Gonna go down to one model? Not quite. No, it does not. Alright, though. With that, crossing the 40-minute mark, where are we? 250 to 261. Germans with a 2-to-1 cap advantage.
Katyusha now available.
And a very obvious capturing opportunity right here. Where are these pioneers? Just kind of chilling down here to the south. Pick this up. You could use it. And where's the IS-2? The IS-2 is just kind of hanging out over here on the right side of the map. And I'm wondering if they're just waiting to find out the position of it to start sending in this Stug. I'm not going to say gangbang, but it's sort of that idea. Pigrans are going to notice that a lot of their comrades are coming under fire from Katyushas here. But what's more is that this MG's got them a little bit, just barely caught in the side. But they're not under fire for long. Indeed, we are going to see the Stug Gs coming in instead to start taking out the infantry one by one. 9 kills, 8 kills. You know, this bad boy, 27. Where's this guy going? 37. What's the biggest now leader over here for Soviets? 29 looks like a winner. 16 pretty good as well. Pigran's going to come up nice and close and personal against these penal battalion guys. It'd be nice to see them finally start to die here. There we go, but they don't drop their LMG at least. Now, the Ziscon has been reclaimed momentarily. That's until the last model gets taken on out. And now the Stug Gs are going and engaging the IS-2, and the IS-2 is just too slow to really get in and around them. Taking fire from multiple sources. There he goes, out of control. So LukePraisestone does not give up against even massive odds. Macca says, screw it. And he's going to dump out of this, I imagine. He's just really, really upset about the fact that he really kind of misplayed it. Putting map and putting player already. And finally, at long last, here comes Atiga. So coming on in as the Germans now have themselves a bang-on even match. 250 to 250. They have an AT gun. Shockingly enough, the Ziscon survives as well to go back into Soviet hands, while Hans is frustrated instead. Not sure how that was a try-hard strategy. If anything, I actually thought it went rather well, using Stugs to more than kind of make up for the enemy armor advantage. So after 42 minutes and 45 seconds, we're going to have ourselves a victory. LukePraisestone does take it 250 to 244, winning by surrender. Macca tapping out when he could not handle the pressure any longer. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in for this particular game. It was a long one, but it was kind of fun to see the Stugs really being utilized for more than just kind of a stopgap measure. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you see, hit that like button, subscribe, comment below. And if you have something you want me to check out, please email me at conorgaming@gmail.com. I will see you guys all soon. Take it easy.